Well, hello there, Belle and Logan. It's me, Brenda. I'm back. I have another book to read to you. This one is called Teach Us Amelia Bedelia by Peggy Parrish. You guys might remember Amelia Bedelia. She's kind of funny. So I thought I'd read this book. It's a little bit longer than the Fancy Nancy books, okay? So hang in there. Here we go. Teach Us Amelia Bedelia. Okay. The telephone was ringing. I'm coming, said Amelia Bedelia. She answered the phone. Mrs. Rogers, she said, where are you? Look at her running frantically, knocking over everything to get to the phone. I'm at the airport in Pinewood, said Mrs. Rogers. You didn't tell me you were going away, said Amelia Bedelia. I'm not, said Mrs. Rogers. I'm meeting the new teacher, but her plane is late. That's too bad, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia, as you know, she's the maid. They're cleaning. The telephone at the school is out of order, Mrs. Rogers went on. Please go to Mr. Carter's office at the school. Tell him what I said. I'll go right now, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia got her things. She walked to school. Where is Mr. Carter's office? She asked. That first door, said a child. Amelia Bedelia walked in. Mrs. Rogers tried to call you, she said, but your telephone is out of order. I know, said Mr. Carter, but thank goodness you're here. The children are going wild. Miss Lane left a list for today. I'll take you to the room. He handed Amelia Bedelia the list. Uh-oh. Looks like Amelia Bedelia is going to step in as the teacher. Follow me, he said. They went down the hall. Mr. Carter opened a door. Children were all over the place. All right, said Mr. Carter. Quiet. This is your new teacher. Me, teach, said Amelia Bedelia. She's like, me? Teach? Should have a question mark. But Mr. Carter was gone. That's how she said it. Amelia Bedelia did not want to teach these kids. Look at her face. And then look at the kids. They're going nuts in there. Tearing up the place, running around, being disobedient, right? Not following the rules. She looked at the children. They looked at her. I'm Amelia Bedelia, she said. The children giggled. You're nice, said Amelia Bedelia. I do like happy children, but we have a lot to do. Oh boy, I'm wondering how well this is going to go. She held up the list. We must do just what this says, she said. Now, what's first? Amelia Bedelia read, call the roll. She looked puzzled. Call the roll? What roll? She said. Of course, call the roll just means that you take attendance. You find out who's in the class, but she doesn't know what that means. Does anybody have a roll? I have, said Peter. Well, go get it, said Amelia Bedelia. Peter opened his lunchbox. Here it is, he said. So she thinks it means a roll that you eat, right? Like a hamburger roll. Now I have to call it, said Amelia Bedelia. Roll! Hey, roll! All right, that takes care of that. The children roared, laughing. She's talking to the roll on the floor that you eat. She's saying, hey, roll! Amelia Bedelia read her list. Land sakes, she said. Listen to this. Sing a song. I never was much of a hand at singing. So they want her to sing a song. But it says sing a song. So I'll sing, and she did. More, more, shouted the children. No, said Amelia Bedelia. It said a song. I did just that. Ah, said the children. See, Amelia Bedelia wants to follow the rules exactly as they say. Exactly by what they say to do. Now it's reading time, said Amelia Bedelia. I know about that. I read my cookbook. It tells me just what to do. She held up a book. She said, is this the right one? Yes, said Amanda. So now she's going to read, I guess. Amelia Bedelia opened the book. I declare, she said, this is a good one. Are you ready? Yes, said the children. All right, said Amelia Bedelia. It says, run, run, run. The children just sat. Amelia Bedelia clapped her hands. Run, she said. Run, run, run. That's what she did. She wanted them to run because the book says run. So she's telling the kids to run, run, run. The children ran after her. Around the room, through the halls, around the blocks they ran. Finally, they ran back into the room. How silly. Amelia Bedelia takes everything seriously. Amelia Bedelia plopped on her chair. That takes care of run, 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 she said. Your book plumb tired me out. Let's see what's next. I hope we don't have to run to do it. She looked at the list. She said, it's science time. Each of you should plant a bulb. That's what it says. Do you know about that? Yes, said Tim. We brought our pots. Where are the bulbs? Said Amelia Bedelia. In the top closet, said Rebecca. Miss Lane said so. Amelia Bedelia looked and looked. Nothing here but some dried up onions, she said. She doesn't know what bulbs are for planting. She's probably looking for, I bet you she's looking for light bulbs. Silly Amelia Bedelia. Those what she thinks are dried up onions are actually the bulbs. You all go outside, put some soil in your pots. I'll go buy some bulbs. So she's leaving the students by themselves. Amelia Bedelia went to the store, and she hurried back. The children were waiting. Here's a bulb for you and you, said Amelia Bedelia. She gave everyone a bulb, a light bulb. The children looked surprised. Then they started giggling. Amelia Bedelia doesn't get it. She thought they were planting light bulbs. But they planted those bulbs. Then they put the pots on the windowsill. Those do look right pretty, said Amelia Bedelia. And I learned something new. I didn't know you could plant bulbs. Look at the bulbs in the flower pots. She planted light bulbs. Suddenly a bell rang. What's that for? Said Amelia Bedelia. Free time, yelled the children. Good, said Amelia Bedelia. The children ran outside and Amelia Bedelia sat down to rest. She's tired. She's pooped. Then free time ended. Back came the children. It's quiet time now, said Amelia Bedelia. You're supposed to read stories. Each child chose a book. All was quiet. Why aren't you reading? Said Amelia Bedelia. We are, said Ed. I don't hear you, said Amelia Bedelia. The children looked at Amelia Bedelia. They looked at each other. And Amelia Bedelia heard them all right. My, I'll be glad when quiet time is over, she said. My ears hurt. So she thought that they had to read the stories out loud, all different stories being read at the same exact time. That's not the way it's supposed to be. They're supposed to read quietly. Jeff said, art comes next. That's fun. Amelia Bedelia looked at her list. You're right, she said. You must paint pictures now. The children got sheets of art paper. So now they're going to do an art project and paint pictures. I wonder how she's going to mess this one up. What are you doing? Said Amelia Bedelia. We're going to paint pictures, said Bud. But how can you? Said Amelia Bedelia. There's no picture to paint. We'll make pictures, said Mary. Oh, no, said Amelia Bedelia. This says to paint pictures. You can't paint a picture without a picture to paint. She's a little confused. Better find one for yourselves. The children ran around the room. Not a picture was left on the wall, but all the children were painting. So they took all the pictures off of the wall, and they're painting the teacher's pictures. Soon the pictures were back on the wall. They sure do look different, said Steve. Yes, said Amelia Bedelia. Mr. Carter will be surprised. The children shook their heads. He sure will, said Janet. I don't think Mr. Carter's going to be happy because they ruined all of his beautiful pictures. Amelia Bedelia gets things mixed up. What's next? Said Jamie. Our play, said Rebecca. We have to practice our play. Practice play, said Amelia Bedelia. You mean children have to practice play? School sure has changed since I went. All right, out you go. But Amelia Bedelia, said the children. No buts, said Amelia Bedelia. Let's go, start playing. So she doesn't understand that play means practicing a play, a story, doing a theater story on doing something on stage and acting it out. She thinks it means playing outside. Silly Amelia Bedelia. Practice that jumping rope some more, said Amelia Bedelia. I can do better than that. Show us, said Janet, and Amelia Bedelia did. Well, she's cool, right? I can run faster than that, said Amelia Bedelia. Show us, said Steve. So Amelia Bedelia did. That's fine, she said. You've practiced long enough. Let's go inside. What a silly girl. Let me see what's next, said Amelia Bedelia. Here are some problems for you. Yuck, said the children. Ginny, get your apples, said Amelia Bedelia. What apples? Said Ginny. Amelia Bedelia looked puzzled. She said, but it says Ginny has 4 apples. Paul takes away 2. It's a math problem, but Amelia Bedelia thinks that they have to actually use apples. Oops, said Amelia Bedelia. I don't think I was supposed to tell that part. She read the other problems. These all have apples in them. Does anybody have apples? The children shook their heads. Then Amelia Bedelia had an idea. Let's go to my house, she said. We have lots of apples. Yes, shouted the children. We better leave a note, said Amelia Bedelia. She went to the blackboard and wrote, we are at the Rogers house. Then off they went to the Rogers backyard. Amelia Bedelia got the apples. She called some children. There is a problem for each of you, she says. You all have apples. Somebody is going to try to take some away. Are you going to let them? No, shouted the children. She's so silly. Amelia Bedelia went to the other children. You are supposed to take away some of their apples, she said. She told each child whom to take from. Can you do that, she said. Sure, said the children. All right, everybody, said Amelia Bedelia. Go! Children started after each other. They ran all over the yard. They're trying to take the apples away. Amelia Bedelia turned and went into the kitchen. She put some of this and a lot of that into a big pot. She put the pot on the stove. There, she said, I'll surprise them. Amelia Bedelia started out. Just then, Mr. Rogers started in. What is all of this? Said Mr. Rogers. What are those children doing? Math, said Amelia Bedelia. Math, said Mr. Rogers. Come see, said Amelia Bedelia. So she has them all at the Rogers house. They went out. That's not fair, Steve, yelled Janet. You hid your apples. I can't take any. That's not fair, Judy. You took away all my apples. What in tarnation are they doing? Said Mr. Rogers. Amelia Bedelia read him the problems. That sounds like fun. I'm going to help them, he said. He joined the children. Now that does beat all, said Amelia Bedelia. She went inside. Later she called, everybody come, all apples on the table. So now Mr. Rogers is helping teach the children math. Apples came from everywhere. Amelia Bedelia put a stick in each one, then she dipped them in the pot. Ooh, caramel apples. Or candy apples, maybe. Taffy apples, everybody shouted. That's what they are, taffy apples. Right, said Amelia Bedelia. Take one and go home. School is out. The children grabbed apples. They crowded around Amelia Bedelia. Please, please teach us again, they said. I think they liked Amelia Bedelia, didn't they? She's a fun teacher. She takes them outside. She plays with them. She's silly. Amelia Bedelia said nothing. She looked at her kitchen and shook her head. Uh-oh. Mr. Rogers walked in. Someone was with... Mrs. Rogers walked in. Somebody was with her. What happened? She said. Where are the children? Home, said Amelia Bedelia. Home, said Mrs. Rogers. But it's not time. It was for me, said Amelia Bedelia. The house is a mess. And Amelia Bedelia told Mrs. Rogers that she sent the kids home early. This is Miss Reed, said Mrs. Rogers. She is the new teacher. She came to get the children. Then she will have to go find them, said Amelia Bedelia. I'm plumb tired out. But, said Miss Reed. More taffy apples, called Mr. Rogers. Taffy apples, said Mrs. Rogers. Come on, Miss Reed. Amelia Bedelia put the taffy apples on the table. They all sat down and ate. Meanwhile, the kids are going home by themselves. This is such a silly book. I'll let you teach any time, said Miss Reed, if you will make taffy apples. I'll be glad to, said Amelia Bedelia. I do love children. So that's what happens when you set Amelia Bedelia loose into a school to be the teacher. That was a fun book, wasn't it? I hope you enjoyed it. See you guys soon. Mwah. Bye.